Hello, everyone. This is Ashley Nguyen, your counselor here at Huntington Beach Adult School. Did you know that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month? And that the color purple symbolizes domestic violence? Purple symbolizes purity, hope, and loyalty. What is domestic violence? Domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship that is used by one partner to gain or maintain control over another intimate partner. The abuse may occur during or after a marital or dating relationship. Types of abuse include control, physical abuse, verbal abuse such as coercion, threats, and blame, sexual abuse, emotional abuse and intimidation, economic control, using male privilege, and isolation. I will go over the different types of abuse in the next few slides. Control. Controlling behavior is a way for the abuser to maintain dominance over the victim. It is often subtle and almost always deceitful and pervasive. Some controlling behaviors include checking the mileage on the odometer, monitoring phone calls, forcing the victim to dress a certain way, calling or coming home unexpectedly to check up on their partner, forcing or encouraging dependency, and using children to control the victim. Physical abuse is any physically aggressive behavior. This includes indirect physically harmful behavior or threat of physical abuse. Some examples of physical abuse are hitting, pinching, slapping, and kicking, blocking an exit so that the victim cannot escape, holding the victim down, throwing things in anger, destruction of property, or holding the victim hostage. Sexual abuse is using sex to exploit an individual or forcing sex on another person. Some examples of sexual abuse include using force, coercion, or guilt, exploiting a victim who is unable to make an informed decision about involvement in sexual activity, or making contact with the victim in any non-consensual way. Verbal abuse is any abusive language used to demean, embarrass, or threaten the victim. Verbal abuse is not always a bad word. It could be the tone of voice or even the intention behind words. Some examples of verbal abuse include threatening to hurt or kill the victim or their loved ones, name calling, telling a victim that he or she is unattractive or undesirable, yelling, screaming, and using profanity. Emotional abuse and intimidation is any behavior that exploits another's vulnerability, insecurity, or character. Some examples of emotional abuse and intimidation include insulting or criticizing to undermine the victim's self-confidence, threatening or accusing with intention to cause emotional or physical harm or loss, consistently disregarding, ignoring, or neglecting the victim's requests and needs, telling the victim that they're mentally unstable or incompetent, forcing the victim to take drugs or alcohol, and not allowing the victim to practice their religious beliefs, isolating them from their religious community, or using religion as an excuse for abuse. Economic control is restricting how the victim acquires, uses, and maintains money and economic resources, such as accommodation, food, clothing, and transportation. Some examples of economic control include preventing the victim from being in education or employment, limiting working hours, taking the victim's paycheck, making the victim ask for money or providing an allowance, checking receipts, keeping financial information a secret, or building up debt in the victim's name. For instance, insisting all bills, credit cards, and loans are in the victim's name. Using male privilege refers to objectification of women and the belief that women exist for the satisfaction of men's personal, sexual, emotional, and physical needs. The male abuser feels an entitlement to male authority. He believes that the use of physical force is acceptable, appropriate, and effective. Isolation is when the abuser isolates the victim from resources, keeping the victim from seeing who they want to see, doing what they want to do, setting and meeting goals, and controlling how the victim thinks and feels. Isolation often begins as an expression of their love for the victim, with statements like, "Well, if you really loved me, then you would want to spend more time with me and not your family." Self-isolation may also develop from fear of public humiliation or from fear of harm to themselves or others. Most victims of domestic violence are women. However, children, teens, and the elderly are also at risk. Some signs that an individual may be a victim of domestic abuse are uncharacteristic changes in their mood or behavior, decline in job or school performance, lack of concentration, increased tardiness, or they just completely do not attend or show up to school, work, or social events, bruises or other injuries that are unexplained, they receive harassing phone calls in the workplace or at school, and they appear anxious, frightened, or very cautious. Yet they make excuses for all the above signs and symptoms that just doesn't make any sense. As we are hearing these excuses, try not to judge the victim and consider all the reasons why a victim might not leave or report a situation. For instance, the victim may fear the unknown. They may be asking, what will happen to me? And how will this affect my children? What will my life be like? I want to remind you that sometimes we may be disappointed in the outcome, but it is up to the victim to make the decision to leave or to stay and to do what is best for them and their family. It is important that we create a supportive environment and community and explain that there are people who can help. We can remind victims that it is not their fault and that they are not alone. Statistically speaking, 1 in 4 women will be physically assaulted by a partner during her lifetime. Every 9 seconds in the United States, a woman is assaulted or beaten. And 1.3 million women in the United States are victimized by domestic violence every year. The following resources are available 24/7. A trained expert will help you create a safety plan to escape and find solutions that work for you. They can assist you in finding emergency shelter while connecting you with local resources such as legal advocacy, transitional living, and so much more. As always, I'm here to help. If you need someone to talk to or need help connecting with a community agency, please email me or book a student appointment through OneFlow. Take care.